Hello, hello. Welcome to Horror Film Lovers, a podcast with me, Sarah Adkins, and
Jonathan
Jonathan Moody.
Moody. Yep, I'm
Moody.
here. Yep, we talked about
We
that
did
on the
one,
last episode we
right?
did.
We're
Yeah,
used to doing indie film cafe where everything has to be cow related. So
it
you're
doesn't
you're
have to
moody.
be because
No, but it's funner that way.
whenever
Everything
Paul's not there, it's not.
right.
You
It's
know,
not all mooey when he's not
no,
there.
no, we don't. I don't moo when he's not around. Generally,
Well,
um, but I
uh,
will when he's around.
right. Well, you can move as much as you want in this episode in spirit. Uh,
Okay.
we uh we did Dalen Tucker versus Evil. Uh
Yeah. Yeah,
on
we did.
this one. It was my pick because it is one of my favorites. I will say I see it usually every year, just because the fact that it's a classic, it's funny, and every time I meet somebody who hasn't seen it, I have to show it to them.
Hmm.
Uh, but it has some great actors in it, that are very, the main two guys. You see them in so much stuff, like
Very famous.
yeah, Reaper and all sorts of stuff.
Firefly, man. Alan Tudyk
Firefly,
is one
yeah.
of was Wash, man, one of my favorite characters on Firefly.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that actor, I think, went to Plano High School, which is where my ex-husband went to high school, because he used to brag about that anytime we saw him in a TV show or a movie. He's like, he went to my high school. I was like, oh, that's interesting, and that's not too far from me here in Texas.
Nice. So that's good. He was a
Like,
Texan.
yeah, because wasn't he also the pirate in Dodgeball?
Yes, he was. Yes, he
And
was.
I didn't I IMBD'd him, and he's also been a huge voice actor, which I didn't
Hmm.
realize that either. So he's done a lot more than just movies. He's done a ton of voice acting, little
You done your
bits and pieces and
research.
everything. Oh yeah. Well, I don't unfortunately I don't have a picture memory, so I couldn't quote a lot of it back to you, but I did look it up on IMDb. I looked them both up, and was just like, these are two of my favorite guys, and they've just been in so much stuff.
Yeah. Tyler Labine, I want to say that's how you say his name.
It's one of those hard ones to kind of pronounce.
I was not sure of him. Like I hadn't really seen much else
Well,
from
because he's
him.
he like I said, he did the TV show Reaper. He's been in a lot of
He
stuff,
was in
really.
Super Troopers 2 as one
Yeah,
of the
it was just one of
Mounties.
those things where, he's the funny outcast guy, and sometimes he's not as memorable. He was in a movie called, like, I think it was like finding a date or something for Barry or whatever. But he was in this funny comedy where he was the horrible friend that everybody kind of hated because he never grew up and he was just annoying. And the whole premise of the movie was finding him a wife or somebody so he wouldn't bug his friends so much. And they found him a girl who was just as annoying and obnoxious as he was, and it was pretty hilarious. And he's in another movie very similar to this, where he plays with the chick that was in Final Girls, the one that played the mom, who
All
died.
right. Yeah,
He was in
Malin
a movie with
Ackerman.
her, and I know the name of it's on there. Like I said, I'm so bad on the spot with memorizing names, but he was in a movie with her to where they went out to a family cabin. They were going to announce an engagement, and he accidentally kills his brother, and the whole movie is about them trying to figure out what to do, and then ended up hating each other, trying to kill each other. So that one was very
All
similar,
right.
very funny as well.
It sounds like he has a specific thing,
A
like
typecast type.
yeah.
He's definitely my type. I mean, look at him. He's big and burly and got a beard, and he's funny.
Yep, there you go.
My type
Someone
for sure.
Marry Barry. That was the movie you were
So
thinking
Mary
of.
Berry, that was the name of that
Yeah.
comedy. And it was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's been in a few things. Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's been doing this for a long time.
I really liked him. He had a lot of heart. I kind of felt bad for Alan Tudyk, the guy, the pirate in Dodgeball, because
Right, he
like
lost
his
his
care
fingers, man.
he lost his fingers, he got
he
stung by
just got he just
bees.
got shat on the whole
I
fucking
know,
movie.
and he doesn't even get the girl at the end. Like,
I know, but he's so happy for his buddy.
I know, but
Because
I
like the
just kept
whole the
feeling.
whole movie, he's trying to get his friend, he's trying to get Dale to come out of his shell, be like, hey, go flirt with this girl, like, speak up, just, like, find your mojo, like be confident with yourself, and girl just happened to land in his lap, or the lake rather.
Yeah, the lake, which she almost drowned. you
Yeah.
know, they saved our ass, and then, but we'll get into that. I guess
Mhm.
let's talk about the plot of the movie, and so
Sure.
that'll probably take a little bit, maybe. um, so like it all starts with I think it all starts basic. Well, it shows earlier or whatever, but I hate when they do that, when they have to add something like, in the beginning, or whatever that sets up the rest
Mhm.
of the thing, because
Right.
that actually shows uh the horror before, like they do that. They did it. I had to review a movie called Countryside for
Mhm.
31 Days of Indie Horror. They did the same exact thing. I think it was 2 days before, right? And it's sort of a trope. I get it, because if you're writing a horror film and then you don't have the horror for the first like 30 minutes of the movie or something,
Right.
like, but
It
then
loses a
after
lot
then
of
it's like,
people's attention.
nonstop after that. It like people start getting confused. Like, is this a
Yeah.
horror film? Is this not? So if you
Right.
show the
You could
horror,
lose a lot of people in that first like 30 minutes if it doesn't seem like a horror film, because most horror lovers are going to be like, this isn't a horror film. There's nothing going on here, and they'll walk
they'll
away
turn
from it and they'll miss out on a good movie. So.
right. So they have the horror, like sort of a horror scene set up in the beginning, but really
Mhm.
it starts out with I guess Dale and Tucker on their way to get, uh beer, and they're on their way to the cabin.
Supplies for their new vacation home.
Yeah, to their new vacation home. And they get stopped by a cop, and it does not look good for it does not look good for
Does not look good
Dale.
for them, because the whole premise of this movie is things are not what they seem. That these guys are so goofy. They keep getting put in these situations because they're in that car and they're clumsy, especially Dale's. The stuff gets spilt. Somebody loses a shirt. Somebody drops something. And before you know it, you're getting pulled over and it looks like you're getting fellatio.
Looks like he's sucking his dick. And then the cop is like, I see what's going on here, but all right. You know,
Sure.
and the funniest thing, every time Dale would speak, he would say something that would just sound worse, make it sound worse.
Always.
You
Every
know?
time.
So like my favorite bit is he's like, what the fuck? He said, I just had it in my head. He said, um something about it being they were on like they were doing manly stuff together or something.
Right.
They were gonna do manly stuff together, and I was just like, really? Come on. He doesn't realize how bad that looked with that
He
his head
doesn't
was in the
notice that
guy's
what he
lap.
says sounds a lot worse
uh
than it really is.
right. And so the sheriff warns them, do not go into that cabin because it's just bad, news over there. And so I'm guessing the sheriff knows more than what we know.
Well,
Yeah.
because I mean, there's going to be spoilers, obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, don't
Oh
watch
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But so, like, the cop that pulls them over in the beginning of the scene comes back later in the movie, which we don't have to get into all that right now. But if you notice at the end, when they do find the news story, they show that that same cop was there for the original incident that happened out there. So that's why he's like, hey, be careful out there, because he was around when the murders happened and he was the cop in the newspaper for those murders.
Now, I have a question about that. And
Mm-hmm.
so even though we're talking about the in now, which is funny, but do you think that maybe there really wasn't this mass murder, and that maybe it all was just accidents that happened, and
It could have been.
it made it look like there was, that
I
or
mean,
whatever?
it's a possibility that that place is just very accidental and whatnot. The only thing about that is the preppy douchebag kid who starts all this trouble is apparently the offspring of the victim because one of the hillbillies raped her.
Right,
So
but
if it
he
was
is
all
a hillbilly
accident,
himself.
so he's half hillbilly. So if everything, all the death stuff were an accident, like I'm sure could be rhyme or reason for all of that. But I don't know if we'll ever know, because
I don't
even the
know.
story, it's a campfire story, really. So how much truth is there really to it? Especially, when it did that thing like they do in the Final Girls that they made fun of, where they all sit around the campfire to tell a story of this is what happened here. There was this mass killer, and it
And then
fades
it
to
fades into it.
fades to
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
scene. So I did think that was pretty funny. But
Right.
yeah, who knows? Maybe it all could have been accidents then too.
If you were stuck in that movie, you'd have to go through that,
Right.
and
Oh man,
everything would
I don't
start.
know if I want to be stuck in Dale Tucker versus Evil, but
I
I don't
know it'd be
know.
scary because like you'd be watching everybody trip and fall and
I'd be
everything, and
constantly trying to calm Dale down. Be like, just have a beer. It's okay. It's okay.
I like
Forget about the girl you're chasing in this movie. I'm cute, right? You want? She's cute too. Like, hey, like
yeah,
that might not be a bad movie to be
Katrina
trapped in.
Bowden is gorgeous. I was
Really, and
very
her hair stayed perfect through the entire movie. Even her curls looked like there was somebody following her around with a curling
It
iron, making
probably
sure that all of
was.
her loops were perfect at all times, even though she whacked her head and everything.
I think there was,
Get
and that
get
might have
back
been the
into get
problem.
back into your story of what this movie is
Okay,
about.
so they get stopped by the cop, everything, whatever happens with that.
Mhm.
They go back, they go to the thing, they find these kind of douchebag college kids, except
Yeah, the
for the
college
main
kids,
girl
they're
and
out there camping.
maybe the other blonde girl. I
The
liked
ditzy one.
her, the ditzy one, but I liked her, except I didn't like she smoked so much, but that's me
She was
personally.
skinny.
You know,
Yeah.
she didn't really smoke though. I never really saw her
She
actually
kept
take a
trying to
puff.
smoke a cigarette because she was shaking in fear and she could just never get it lit.
Yep. Um, yeah, but she was smoking in the beginning of the movie, supposedly, but I never saw her
Yeah.
actually take an actual drag. Which
Yeah.
makes me wonder if, like, Shalon Simmons, who plays that role,
Right.
actually probably doesn't smoke. And I see that
Yeah,
a
I could see
lot.
that. Yeah, I could
Or
see that.
maybe it's a film thing where they tell you don't do it because it's a
Right.
continuity issue. If you smoke,
Could
then you have
be.
to keep relighting and making the next one look just the same as the one. Like
That could be
so.
because if you're burning it down, if you had to do retakes or do clips and the cigarette's all different lengths, that would be an
Yeah,
issue. So
yeah,
that's kind of a smart observation there, Jonathan.
yeah. Maybe I don't know. I don't because I'm never on those sets. So if I were on those sets and
Right.
that was a thing somebody suggested, I will let you know if I ever see that,
Yeah,
if I
that
ever hear
makes
that.
sense though.
Um,
These
but
college kids are dicks though. I mean, like, okay, so the main one's a dick. The other ones
main
honestly
one
aren't
is the
that
worst dick. Everybody else is sort of
He
not.
kind of bullies them into their behavior though and panics them by telling them
Mm,
all this stuff is happening. Like they honestly are kind of like, no, I'm sure it's fine, I'm sure they're not doing this, let's leave them alone, let's go get help.
well,
And then all of a sudden it turns into, oh, okay, we're gonna attack them now.
this is a funny thing that my friend John Ward, who I do Mainstream Mondays with, noticed for Final Destination, for the Final Destination movies. He thinks that a lot of those things are accidents, that death was not actually trying to kill those people, that some of those things could have been avoided had the people not panicked and
Right,
everything. And the
right,
panicking is because they think they're going to die.
right. So they
So
kind of purposely like are unintentionally do it to themselves.
exactly. So that's what this movie is. It's just a big
Right,
long version of that. Like because they're trying to kill them, but
right.
then the person will move out of the way and they'd be like, "Oh shit." And
Yeah,
then
it was accident after accident of oops, like I'm just in panic, so I'm gonna run at you and I died. Oh no.
I know like well anyway, we'll get into all the deaths and all that stuff when we get to that part. But so anyway, you got the kids and they kind of notice the funniest thing I just that one guy at the store, that I guess is friends with Dale and Tucker,
Yeah.
he's just like talking to them and I'm just like, wow, I mean, surprised this guy doesn't have a bigger part in this movie. Like that would he
Yeah.
would have been a funny like
And
third person.
and that store scene like that kind of reminded me of when we watched Cabin Fever when they all went into the cabin or not the,
Right.
like they all went into the store with the hillbillies and didn't know what was going on and misunderstood everything and got scared.
Yeah,
It reminded me a lot of
exactly.
that.
And I see a lot of this is sort of a
A
parody
parody movie almost. Yeah.
Cabin Fever,
Yeah.
because I mean, Cabin Fever had a lot of comedy in it as well, already, but it was really mainly a horror film just with some comedy. This is
Yeah.
a comedy film with some horror.
Right.
This is
Right.
not really like, you cannot, this isn't straight horror film, or
Of course.
whatever, or a straight comedy. This is both, but mostly comedy. um so anyway, she ends up or they end up going into the car, or going to the car to get it all packed up and everything. And of course, that's when Dale falls in love with the girl, and he wants to go talk to her, but
Everything he says
Tucker,
is mush.
yeah, and Tucker tells him, go do it, why not,
Shoves like hard-boiled eggs in his mouth before he goes and talks to her too. It's
right.
like, first off, now your breath is going to smell like eggs, and you're not going to be able to talk clear. She's not going to be able to understand you. So he's just oblivious to everything.
Yeah, and he starts coming up there with like a fucking sickle, and he has that
Yes.
sickle like running up, and he
Right.
he's
Like,
trying to talk to them, and of course they're gonna get scared. He has a fucking
right.
weapon in his hand.
Right. You have a weapon in your hand. They don't know you. They're out in the backwoods. Like, yeah, it's scary.
It's scary. So the guy was like, stand back, blah 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 blah, right? Get in the car. They leave, and poor Dale is got his legs, tail between his legs, and he's sad. It didn't work out, but fuck them, kind of thing, like, oh, they didn't like you, well, that's all right, whatever,
Screw
stuck
'em.
up
We're going to
kids
go to our
anyway.
vacation home. We're going to fix it up, and we're going to have a good time.
I know, which really kind of, okay, so later on
It's
in the movie, he says, we're here on vacation, and we're trying to get work done, and I'm like,
right.
isn't that like ironic,
Yeah.
like thing,
No, that
like,
is ironic because you're on vacation, and in order for you to have more nice vacations there, you have to do the work to make the vacation home like vacationable.
it's kind of sucks. I didn't
Yeah.
like that aspect of it,
Yeah.
'Cause I thought the whole, I want to, if I'm on vacation, I want to be just like Dale was, playing fucking board games,
Right. Right.
relaxing, not cutting wood and getting bee
Yeah. There
stings.
was a lot of repairs and stuff need to be done. That was their first time, they just got the cabin. Like it needed some love,
It
but
needed a lot, and it
they
didn't even
definitely
get
needed
enough.
to work between fixing it up and having some leisure time. That's for sure.
So they get to the cabin, the vacation home. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, I mean they get to their little vacation home, and they're trying to make it better and everything like that. And they kind of foreshadow some stuff by the fact that, don't lean on this beam because the whole thing would collapse, and how they're so happy to have it and fix it up, and they're best friends. And then the college kids are just around the campfire telling this horrible story about this mass murderer who murdered and raped people and all this. So they're all driven with fear. And but they decide to go to the lake and go swimming, and Dale and Tucker decide they want to go fishing.
Yep.
And
At the same lake.
poor Tucker learns later that Dale don't even like to go fishing, and that breaks his heart more than anything.
Right,
You know,
right.
so
But
they're trying to fish, and they hear commotion, and Dale, pure of heart, is like, we don't need to be peeping on them. They're scared of us. We need to go. And Tucker, the pervert he is just like, no, I want to get closer. I want to see what's going on here. And of course, Miss Blondie gets up on the rock, starts taking her clothes off, getting in her underwear, because there's no nudity in this movie.
there
And then
isn't
she
any,
kind of
is there?
yeah, she kind of hears the commotion, and gets freaked out, and she falls off this like 6-foot rock apparently. And the rock didn't look that tall when she fell off of it. It looked taller when she was stripping on it, but when she actually fell from it, it looked a little short. So,
Right.
but she never came up, so they had to go over there and get her and pull her up. And of course, wrong place, wrong time. It just looks worse than it is. The friends start
Right.
screaming, seeing a body being dragged into their boat. We got your friend.
Yeah.
Dragging her unconscious, almost naked body in your boat, yelling, "We got your friend." Sounds like you're helping, but in the eyes of the friends, the
Yeah,
college
the
kids,
college
it
kids,
was
they're
scary
like,
as hell, and they thought she was being kidnapped.
we got your
So
friend means we kidnapped your friend.
yeah, to them it's like, oh, you got our friend. Okay, you kidnapped our friend. You're taking our friend. So and that's what starts the whole snowball effect of, them, going after them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and she eventually she wakes up in that cabin, and there's a lot of far-fetched things that kind of happen, but it's kind of sweet seeing them have a conversation and their bond blossom a little bit. And
Well,
that dog.
at first she wakes up and she's scared because she has no idea where she's at.
Oh, of
She
course, because he
doesn't know
brings
what's
in
going on.
pancakes and she's
Yep.
screaming. It's like, oh, you don't like pancakes? You're scared of pancakes? Like, just oblivious.
Like,
Oh,
yeah,
you must
yeah.
be scared of pancakes. So he makes bacon and eggs. Like, you're not scared of bacon and eggs, are you? And she's like, what's happening?
Like, yeah. And then he's like telling her it's what happened basically and
Right.
everything, and
What happened?
kind of
How he rescued her? So my friends just left me. Yeah, like I got you in my clothes, and blah blah blah. And she tries to make him look fashionable later, and you could obviously tell that they went from male's clothes to obviously nothing like that. They were,
they were female clothes. I was like,
yeah,
wait, where did she get female clothes from? Because there was no
right.
way that was that
There was
small of
no
a
way that
shirt.
those pants used to be a man's pants, and
Yeah.
the plaid shirt that was his shirt she was wearing that was long, even if she did find scissors to cut it up or whatever, it looked like it had seams and stuff in it. Like, it was made like that.
Yeah,
Like,
it was made like that. It
her
was
hair never defaulted, even when she had the bloody rag over her head, like wrapped around her head as a headband and took it off. Perfectly clean, makeup perfect, hair perfect, no wounds, no blood. It was just like, oh, I'm taking that off. I don't need it.
yeah.
It wasn't real.
So anyway, the college kids are really frustrated, and they are, well, at least the one college kid really is
Yeah.
like, you, oh, we forgot to mention that there was a scene, and this sort of like makes a big deal out of it, where he kind of hits on or the one college kid, the one bratty one, the bad guy,
Hmm.
is hitting on our main girl,
Oh yeah.
and he's trying to basically be boyfriend girlfriend with her or something,
He's
get
just
with her,
creeping her out.
and she doesn't feel it at all. Like, she's
Mm-mm.
just, there's no chemistry there.
Right.
And do you know why there's chemistry between her and Dale?
I mean, probably just because he's humble and doesn't see her for her beauty, but sees her for a
Well,
person.
that's
But
one thing maybe, but I'm gonna say because she grew up on a farm. She
oh
mentions
yeah,
this
yeah,
later, that she grew up on a farm, so she's sort of
yeah.
probably used to like
She
mountain
probably
men,
has some
and
sort of complex with that.
she
I get
probably
that.
likes, like, I bet she is more of a
Country
country
boys.
girl than a
Yeah,
city girl
yeah,
anyway. So she
yeah. I
likes those
forgot she
kind of guys.
mentioned she did grow up on a farm, and that would make
Right.
sense.
Yeah,
That so the
she's
farm boy, country boy would be, in her wheelhouse.
exactly. So that was, I really like that because it made more sense for
Yeah,
them to be together by the end of the movie.
yeah.
Because I wouldn't have bought it had she been a girl from the city and then just
Right,
fell in love with him. Like, you see
right.
it all the time, but it's
Right, but
it's
it makes more sense the
it's
fact that she has, kind of an upbringing, with country.
yeah, in the country. So there you go.
Yeah,
That works.
yeah, because she was being flirty with him in the cabin after she
Mhm.
realized that he was sweet and innocent, not trying to kill him. She's like, "Well, do you want to play a board game?"
Yeah.
And they play a board game, and that's when
And he
Tucker gets jealous because he's trying to work hard and
and he
Dale's
beats the
flirting with the
crap
girl.
out of her.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and apparently that's not something you say, out loud when people think that you're trying to kill their friend. I
Right.
beat the crap out of her, you know?
Right. See, just
Uh,
everything that he said just came out wrong.
it just came out wrong to other people's
Yeah.
ears.
Yeah, and their
To him,
actions
it's just
too.
like seems normal, or
Well,
even to Tucker. Tucker
right.
is listening
Tucker
to
was
it.
just out there with this chainsaw trying to get the work done on the house,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's when all those college kids decided to come snoop and figure out, how are we getting her back? What's going on? I'm sure it's a misunderstanding. Let's just go talk to him. Chainsaw hits a beehive.
Just
And then
happens to hit a
you
beehive
have
right at that moment.
Tucker running with his chainsaw up like he's in Chainsaw Massacre, running from these bees, getting stung in the face, and this kid's running, and he's just like, maybe he's allergic to bees too, and
Yeah.
the other kid just accidents, accidents,
Accidents. He
accidents.
pales
He just
himself on a
impales
tree.
himself in that tree.
Yep.
And then later it's like, there were bees.
Yep. So he was like, "Oh man, I can't believe that kid fucking killed himself."
I
On
don't
my
think he
tree.
even noticed the kid killed himself at that point though, because he was running with the chainsaw,
Right.
and then later they realized they were standing next to him and he was dead. So at that point, he had no idea that the kid impaled himself and died because he was ahead of him. He's just like, there was another kid out there who was running. I'm assuming he was allergic to bees.
Yeah. So then he gets back in the cabin, talks to Dale, who's playing the board game, the trivia game. At one point, he even tells the girl,
Yeah.
and once again, like letting
You're
us know ahead of time,
right.
reminding us that there was a thing right there, and so a loose board, that
Oh yeah,
basically,
yeah. Just remind us,
you know,
hey, don't lean on that, don't
don't
touch
lean
that.
on
Like
it, don't
that'll
touch
come
it.
down and not hurt you.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, whatever. Because she thought he was yelling at her or whatever, when he was like, no, 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 no. I'm just trying to get you away from that thing, or
Right.
whatever. So the guy, Dale comes in, or Tucker comes in and starts yelling at Dale, you're not helping me,
Covered
you're
in
not doing
bee
anything.
stings.
You're just hanging out with this girl, and that's not, kind of
It's not fair.
understandably. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, he shouldn't be doing all the work. I mean, that's supposed to be their place together, you know.
Right. But
And
also in hindsight though, like if you have this girl at your cabin who just all this just happened to, like instead of doing the work right away, they should have maybe tried to take her to her friends and been like, hey, here's your friend. Because how are the kids supposed to know like where they live and all this stuff? So
yeah,
they kind of should have made sure all the ends and stuff were closed or tied before he just started going to work, or hung out with them and had a little bit of fun, got her home, and then went to work. But
yeah,
he wanted to go straight to work.
yeah, he wanted to. So anyway, they end up having the college kids are sneaking in and or whatever, sneaking by, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And that's when he goes back to work again some more,
And Dale
and
helps him. He's trying to dig the hole for the shitter.
he's trying to dig the hole for the shitter. And the girl comes out with that's when we notice the new
Her
clothes,
wardrobe change.
new wardrobe change. She comes out and she's like, I'm ready to help you out and everything. And he's like,
Stumbling on his words again, trying not to say
yeah,
crap hole. She's like, the
yeah,
outhouse hole.
outhouse hole, which sounded really
And
weird.
that's where you found out she grew up on a farm, and she's fine with working, so she
And
helps him
she's
dig
done this
this
before.
hole.
This wasn't
Right.
new to her. So
So
they're
she's helping build a hole.
digging it together. And so just as he's doing that, the kid's running at him. One of the kids is trying to, I guess, I don't know what they're planning to do.
Because they
Jump
look
on
at him,
him.
they're like, they're making her dig her own grave.
Yeah, they're
like,
making her.
They just totally didn't understand what was happening here.
Right, exactly.
And
So
ran at him with a spear.
Ran at him with a spear and then tripped, fell, and impaled himself on his own spear.
Managed to impale himself on his own spear and bleed all over Dale.
And knock out the other girl, in the
he
process.
got startled, so he turned around and knocked her out with a shovel. So that looked bad because now all of a sudden he's knocked her out, which later, tripping on his words to the cop, oh, there's another one inside that I knocked unconscious.
Yeah. Oh, that was my favorite part of the whole movie, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Tucker is doing all of the stuff in the wood chipper, and another guy runs at him, and
he doesn't even have much of a weapon. He just has this tiny ass little like knife or something,
I guess,
or stick or something. I'm
and then Tucker just kneels down for a second, and he goes right up above him and like goes headfirst into the wood chipper.
Accidents. Just
pure accidents, like
charging at somebody, and then all of a sudden they move, and man, Tucker freaked out. trying to grab the
Right.
body and pulling it out, and then all everybody else sees is looks like he's pushing it in.
Yeah. And
Another case of it was an accident. I didn't do it, but it looks like I did it.
you would think, like, I mean, I understand, like, the crazy kid or whatever, because that kid's just on a vendetta to kill these guys or whatever. But,
Yeah.
like, everybody else, you would see, like, people going into wood chippers, people getting
Right.
impaled, people
Right.
getting impaled on trees. Like, I'm sorry, but if you start thinking that these guys might actually be killers, wouldn't you want to get as far away from
Right. I wouldn't be
everything?
running after them with anything, especially if I was just unsure and on a whim and all this stuff. Like, even if, like, I think it was only because they were trying to rescue their friend. They didn't want to leave her behind. But at the same time, it's like, the guy who left and went and got the cops, he had the right idea. Go get help.
You know what I would have done? Because when the guy goes to get the cops, I would have taken two of the girls, because I hate to say
Right.
it, but like those
Take the
girls
girls.
have, and then bring them with them and then have them stay at the police station,
Right.
right?
But then there wouldn't
Because
be any deaths.
then their deaths wouldn't be there.
I was
Which,
thinking the same thing, though, is when he went to get the police, why didn't the girls go with him for safety?
because even one of the girls goes, "Wait a minute, what? Why is he
Are
go?"
non-smoking, yes.
Yeah, smoking one, I guess, right? Said
Are
that.
smoking, not really smoking.
Yeah,
Yes. No, she
exactly.
she even goes, why does he get to leave? I'm like, does his truck like has room, I'm sure, for at least one, if not both of the girls.
Right.
Like, it's a truck. You get in the back if you have to.
Yeah, the
So like,
girls
it
should have
didn't it
gone.
would have made more sense had he driven them to safety and left them in town, because then they wouldn't have died.
Yeah, they wouldn't
But
have died.
but
I didn't
it,
want them to die. I liked both of them. I thought they
right,
were both
right.
cute.
But for the premise of the movie, we needed to watch them get their faces, chopped off.
Or just get lit on fire, I guess, or whatever. But we'll get to that. So yeah, so we've got a wood chipper guy. We got impaled on his
Impaled
own
on a tree, impaled on a spear.
in a spear. I mean,
So 3 dead already.
3 deaths already, and and then so what's his name? So Tucker and Dale are in the place. He says, the girl got knocked out.
Right.
I don't know what's going on here.
They,
These guys
yeah.
keep just trying to attack us, and they think it's a suicide pact.
Right. That's the only clear logical reason they could think of, is
It's
all
while
these
they're
kids
trying
came
to,
out here to kill themselves. Maybe they're trying to kill her too.
yeah, I mean they're trying to kill her too, so they get a little worried. So the first thought they think is like, well, they got that guy in the wood chipper. We got to clean out the wood chipper so that if the police were to show up, we're not going to be in
Right. Because
trouble,
Dale wanted to call the cops, and Tucker's like, they wouldn't believe us. Look at
Mhm.
this place. Who are they going to believe? Like, they're
Yeah.
not going to, it's going to look like we did it. We're going to get arrested for it. So we just need to clean it up. And then they get caught red-handed.
Yep,
Moving the
exactly.
body.
Well, red-legged, because they're holding the legs of the
And
body with no.
Tucker just drug that torso right over Dale's face.
Oh Lord.
Like, that was unnecessary.
So yeah, so what was it? So the cop shows up with the other guy,
Same cop
and
from before.
same cop from before, and he's the sheriff, I guess, in the town. And
Mm-hmm.
so he comes in and he says, what?
He gets all the kids in the car, keep them
He's got
safe.
the, stay in the car, you'll be all right, and I'm gonna have a talk with these guys, and they're like, look, we didn't do anything, we swear, like these just started happening,
They just start
like,
killing themselves.
yeah, they start killing themselves. What's going on here? And then they're like, we got this other one in the thing. And they're like, oh, you have another one in the
Yeah, it's a doctor
cabin.
unconscious. Yeah.
All right, well, let's go check it out. And so they're like, where are they going? Don't go in that. Don't
Right,
go in
because
that
the cop didn't
cabin.
even pull a gun on him at that point. He was just walking with them like friends. I was like, if these guys really are killers, you're very like vulnerable right now. You're not really doing a good job if these guys really are killers. You're acting like
Yeah.
a friend.
Well, I think honestly, this goes to, I think that there's more to that massacre that happened, then we know that I
Right.
think that there was accidents that place for some reason or another, because it is called Dale and Tucker versus Evil, right?
Evil. Like there's some supernatural force with that cabin that just causes all these accidents, maybe.
Yes. Right. So like it's evil like that just exists there,
Right.
and that's why all these things happen. I mean, so I think that the cop sort of knew that these guys were dim-witted
Right.
hillbillies
And he did
who
meet them
wouldn't.
previously.
Yeah, he met them. He knew these guys were like not serial killer. Like I mean, they don't really give off serial killer vibes. They give off dumbass vibes, but they don't
Yeah.
really give off like I'm a serial killer. So I don't think he
Right.
ever had any fear that these guys
Right.
would attack him. Um,
It's accidents, because he goes in there to check on the girl, and I don't know how she's still unconscious. She didn't get hit with that shovel that hard, but yet she's still passed out for hours, apparently,
yeah, she
for their
passed out
purpose
for
there.
hours, and then she so he had checked on her and said that she's okay, she's alive, she's breathing, she's her eyes,
Right.
whatever,
Right. He checked
like,
her eyes, made she's
yep,
like, she's not brain dead.
she's not brain dead, and they are, but she's not.
Right.
And so they kind of think so. So he ends up saying, I don't, I told you guys to stay away from this place, and you guys
Right.
didn't listen to me. And then of course he touches
The
the
beam
beam, and the
that
beam.
throughout the whole movie foreshadowed,
Yep.
don't lean against that.
And then he leaned against it, causing something to come right onto his head, like slap
Yep.
him on the head. And
Yep. A whole bunch of nails.
nails and
Just
shit. It was just
nails
like stuck
driven
into
through
him.
his skull.
And he comes outside screaming, or
His
whatever.
whole,
And
it's one of those injuries where you don't die right away, but it's like
right.
you're slowly about to go. So it's like you're holding it, going, what just happened? What just happened? So he's just walking out,
Well, he's
holding it,
running
going,
out.
oh
He's
my
trying to
God, oh
get
my
to the
God. Well, all
cop
the kids are
car.
screaming, and then drops and dies.
Yeah, he wants to get the cop car so that he can,
Yeah, he wants to grab the
pick up
mic and
Mike and
call for
call
help.
in Gertie,
But that didn't work.
something like that. And he doesn't get it out, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And so now they're more scared of them. They think they literally
They did
just
it.
killed the cop because they
Yeah.
did not see what just happened, And so they were like, "Oh my God, they killed the cop!" And they
Yeah.
run off as quickly as they can. Again, it was it's just one thing after another of like poor circumstances and
Right.
everything, and
Just
timing,
accident prone and dumb.
accident stuff. So they do end up kidnapping Tucker, and tying him up into like, rope and everything. And they
Right.
steal. Oh no! Well, before
Well,
then,
because before that
then,
they try to hold the dog hostage.
man, I was so mad if they had done something to that dog.
Right.
Hey, I was gonna come in through there and final
Right.
girl them.
Because Dale and Tucker are cowering in the house at this point, scared and trying to figure out what to do, and they hear the dog whimpering from outside, and that stupid kid has the cop gun to the dog's head, going, "You don't come out, I'm gonna shoot your dog." And it's like, the hell you are. Then they get the
Right.
nail gun, and Tucker
Start
tries to
shooting,
go out and rescue the dog while Dale shoots him with the nail
which
gun.
I don't think the kid would have ever killed the dog, because if you
I don't
notice
know. He was pretty
that
psycho.
he was pretty psycho, but like, did you notice how he never, like, one after he had like let go, he never even looked at the dog again.
Yeah,
Like
I know. He
that's why the
didn't. He
dog
just
was
kind of
able
stayed
to.
away from it. Like it was
Yeah,
kind of like he wasn't even pointing it at the dog, at one
yeah,
point. And I
yeah.
don't understand how many bullets were in that gun.
There was, unless
It
they
seemed
had
like
like.
there were more in that gun than there should have been.
Okay, so it's probably either 6 bullets or 9 bullets that
Yeah,
is supposed to
I'm pretty sure
and
there were more shots in that gun.
there was only one thing that I was okay with because of that, was that there was a point where uh there was no shooting, happening. There's like
Right.
silence after a bit. And my only thing was maybe he changed the bullets,
Maybe he
somehow.
reloaded.
He reloaded while they were while that was happening, when we weren't watching that part. So I
Right.
was like, I was
I,
okay with it. It didn't bother me
right.
because even
It's like
if, you know, there was a
Like
lot of
he takes
bullets.
a cop gun, but I didn't see him take any ammo. But that's one of those things where it's like it
He took the
it could have
cop gun
happened, but
without,
we'll never know
yeah,
because they just don't show it.
right. So it was okay. It didn't bother that. None of that actually bothered
But
me because I thought about
Tucker
it when I was watching it.
Tucker was a good guy though. He got the dog free, and in doing so, he got chased through the woods and captured.
Captured, and then so he's hanging.
His
Uh,
bowling fingers.
yeah, and he got his bowling fingers cut, which is kind of fucked up, you know.
Yeah,
And
sent
then
back in a note.
sent back in a note, and then he ended up getting well, then Dale had to go find him and
Right.
everything, and while
And
he was
I
finding him, the girl woke up, and everything, or was she, maybe she was
Well, no,
already
because
awoke.
she woke up. She woke up, and he was trying to explain to her what his friends were doing. Like they tried to kill my dog. They got my best friend. Like they're trying to do this, and she's like, "What?" And then they get the fingers on the door. 'Cause she hears something, brings them inside, and she opens it and with a note, and it's like, "Oh my God, it's your friend's fingers." She reads a note, and it's like, "We got your friend." And
Yeah.
then she was like, "Oh, my friends are crazy." You
Yeah, my
know,
friends are
and
crazy. I don't like,
yeah.
because she
And then
thought they were just like misunderstanding.
she stays there at the cabin while he goes tries to rescue Tucker, and that's when the other friends show up and try to rescue her when they didn't even need to because she wasn't in any danger.
Yeah, she even said like, I don't want to go anywhere. I like that. Like I like
Right.
being here. So
Right.
she goes, or Dale goes and rescues Tucker, even though there's a trap and he almost got like attacked, even though he said, I'm not hung like a bear, you
Right. A
know?
spear like basically comes and shoots him like right between the legs, stuck in his overalls, and he's like, "I'm glad I'm not hung like a bear," because his stick just would have been cut
Chopped
right off
off.
there.
Yep. And then he so he ends up rescuing Tucker, and they end up coming back to the cabin. And so the crazy guy and the, I guess, yeah,
Well, because they're all arguing at some point. He's trying to pour gasoline like on the ground to burn the cabin. She's like, "No, you can't burn their cabin." And then they show
mm,
up, and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna have a diplomatic talk." And she sets them both down to talk about what's going on. And then that's
mhm.
when the other friend sees him and thinks he's being held hostage and tries to attack with that weed eater thing. And
Well,
was the other
before
girl's like,
that, I want to get to them helping each other out real quick. I like that part. I like the scene where
"What am I
they're
missing? What happened?"
the therapy scene.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
but you were saying like all the other stuff that happened
yeah,
like right
right.
after the therapy scene, but the therapy scene is one of my favorite bits because she's like, we're gonna have some tea, and we're gonna like talk this out, right? You're gonna sit
Another
here, you're gonna sit
foreshadowing with the
here.
tea.
Right. And well, sort of, because he says, or she says, we're gonna have tea, and the guy says, I can't have chamomile tea. It's
Mhm.
I'm
Because
allergic to it,
yep.
and stuff, and it like messes up with my asthma,
Hmm.
and so he's like, and they're like, okay, it's Earl Grey, and he's like, oh, what, Dale is just like, oh, I love Earl Grey,
And of
my
course he
favorite.
would because it's in his cabin. He probably had it there.
Yeah. Yeah, so they end up drinking that, and hanging out and talking it out, and we get a little bit more backstory of the murder stuff and what happened and why crazy guy is
Right.
so crazy. It's
Because he tells that whole story about how that victim was his mother and how his father didn't make it alive and she was in an insane asylum and she was pregnant and all of this stuff. So he's
yeah, my
like, "I want
grandma told me
revenge.
everything,
Yeah, I hate hillbillies because they killed my dad and my mom went
I mean,
crazy."
an understandable like scenario, but like you can't blame all hillbillies
Right.
on.
But little did we know his grandmother's story that she told him was not accurate.
Yep. So we find out later, but that's
It's
at
like,
the end. So the two other friends, the non-smoking girl and the black guy, I guess, yeah, they come in and they're like, trying to, you know, basically figure, like take them down, because they think they're helping, but they're like, no, 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 no. And it kind of just starts everything up again,
Right.
and
It's not what you think it is.
yeah. So then the one guy ends up killing the other girl. I forgot what her name was or whatever.
It was
But
his girlfriend.
yeah, his
I just know
girlfriend.
it
He
was
ends
his
up,
girlfriend. I don't remember what her name was because I don't even know if they really said much of names, which is why
yeah,
I can't really remember the college kids' names because I the background college kids didn't really get their names spoken.
yeah. And then he kills her by accident, because the other guy ducks and,
Yeah,
whatever.
he's like, "Oh, babe, why did you duck?
Why did he duck? Well,
Why'd you come at me with a weed eater?"
yeah, weed eater. So he eats the girl's face off or whatever, and then kills, and then I forgot how he died.
Well, he died in the fire because all that
Oh,
gasoline, that was poured in the cabin. The girl tried to light her cigarette, kept trying to light her cigarette. Eventually, ended up getting a flame on the ground, and he
yeah,
burnt.
and they all blew up. The whole thing blew up, and the only people that were able to make it out alive were the three main, was it Tucker, Dale, and
Right.
God,
Our
what is
three
her
good
name?
guys.
What's the main girl's name?
Well, they Allie.
Allie,
This Allison,
Allison,
Allie. Yeah.
Allie's son,
Right.
as he called her at one point, because he wasn't sure which
If you
which
should call her
name.
Allison or Allie, so
Yeah,
Allie, son.
son. Yeah.
But
So
they make
anyway,
it out. But
they make it out. That guy
our
did
bad
too.
college kid guy got halfway burned like Freddy Krueger.
Yep. And then they get into the truck. They just gonna go as quickly as they can, and they go, and everything seems all right at that particular moment. Oh, we're gonna get out of here, and then he's not looking and paying attention, and there's something there.
Yeah.
Bam.
For some reason, Dale decided to look behind him and be like, "Yeah, we did it," instead of in front of him, which is a common horror movie mistake of not keeping your eyes on the road and slamming into something and not escaping because you just totaled your car and killed probably half the people in it.
Yeah. And so Tucker is out, and Dale wakes up and finds,
They took the girl.
Allie is gone. And with the girl, he took the girl. So
Took the girl, and I think he stabbed Tucker and left Tucker out there. Or Tucker was bleeding from his gut, so it could have been from the car wreck. But he was just like, "Bro, like, go get her."
Go get her. So so he goes to the cabin, and
well, they have the dog with them, and he's like, "How am I going to find out where he took her?" And they're like, "Well, the dog will know. Just follow the dog." So
yep.
Plucker, whatever his name is.
I forgot. It's
something like Jangers,
Jangers
or something.
Yeah, Jangers.
Yeah, Jangers led him to the girl at the sawmill place.
And then he finds the girl at the sawmill, and it's almost like a cartoon. Like you see those cartoons with the sawmill, and you have this amount of time before the
and he's also like, you want a big scary like bad guy, and he puts on all this garb to be big and scary, and all these weapons, the chainsaw, and then little knives on the end of his.
He's got the little mask on him.
Yeah, he just puts on all the lumberjack hardware that it can be used as a weapon, basically.
Right.
But I don't understand why when he walked in there and she was, like those cartoons where she was tied to the saw thing, why didn't he initially use the chainsaw to just cut her rope like he tried to after and not fiddled around trying to untie it? And honestly, like, even if that one part was cut, I don't think the whole rope would have just exploded like that and just.
Plus, he could have used the chainsaw to defend himself,
because he did, and then ended up, fighting Two-Face now because his face is all burnt up. And
they end up having a little battle.
Finally got her free.
Little final battle, and then cuts her free, and she gets away from the stuff, and he fights him enough where he is able to, get away. Both of them are able to get upstairs,
looking for weapons,
up in the loft looking for weapons, and they come across the newspaper clipping.
Yep.
That says basically that everything was actually, that the guy looks like him.
The guy in the picture, I mean, who obviously was the same actor, the hillbilly who was captured, who killed and murdered, looked just like him. And it said in the news article that the woman who survived was raped. So they put 2 and 2 together, and they're like, oh, that's his daddy. We just found his daddy, and then the cop was pictured right there too. And not only did they find the newspaper, but they found an old dusty ass box of chamomile tea.
Which that's a little, I mean,
just
like happened
what are
to be
the
there.
odds? What are the odds that the weapon they find is the tea that he's allergic to that they foreshadowed earlier in the conversation?
Yeah.
So they go after him with both. Here, look at the newspaper. Look at who your daddy is. You're half hillbilly. No.
And then when he won't accept it, they have to use the chamomile tea, and they think it will just like distract him, I guess, so that they can go down. Well, but instead it throws him out the window.
Oh, it's okay. We'll get him to a hospital. He'll be fine. He just can't breathe. But then he trips and falls out the freaking window and dies.
He doesn't die. He doesn't die.
Does he not die?
No, he doesn't. Because they said that he was not found. They couldn't find him.
Oh no, I must have missed that part.
Yeah, that was at the end when the people were talking in the the nowspaper reporter, or the reporter was talking. Okay. They were saying that that all this happened, and the suspect is nowhere to be found, or whatever.
Which would set it up for a sequel.
I kind of like that. I mean, I don't. Yeah.
But another accident of he kind of just fell out the window. Nobody pushed him.
Interestingly enough, I didn't know this a couple days ago when I was doing my Final Destination 3 review on for Horror Film Lovers. Go check that out on Mainstream Mondays on Horror Film Lovers on YouTube. But in that movie, there's the girl who's the smoking girl, or non-smoking girl, whatever you want to call her. Fake smoker. She's the tanning salon girl.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. She's one of there's two of those. There's 2 girls that go tanning or whatever.
Yeah, they're big girls.
Yeah, she was the blonde. There was a blonde and a brunette. And so there was that girl, and then the boyfriend of Mary Elizabeth Ellis, who gets stuck on the ride and can't get off, and he's trying to get off, and and she feels guilty because she couldn't save his life. She wish she could have done more or whatever. That was that boy. That was the bad guy.
So there's actors from Final Destination in this too.
Yeah, Final Destination 3, which is really funny. I didn't put those 2 and 2 together until I watched it. Then I looked them up, and I go, because he was not. I mean, because in Final Destination 3, he plays this really sweet boyfriend who, was there.
3 is one of my favorites. I watch 3 regularly.
Yeah, it's fun because I love the roller coaster theme park.
Right. I love the tanning bed scene and the nail gun scene, which they used in Nail Gun and Dale and Tucker. So I do feel like this is a bit of a parody.
Once again, it's one of those things where if they weren't trying so hard to do something, none of this would have happened. Right. And they just calmly talked everything out.
Right.
Everything.
And then they ended the movie with Tucker being in jail, not jail, sorry, the hospital, and Dale visiting him, being like, oh, they sewed your fingers back on. Here's a PBR.
Oh, they sewed the fingers back on, but one of the fingers was a female finger, and I'm wondering where the fuck that came from.
Oh, geez.
Like which girl had the female finger that got
right, or was it from the crime scene, or does it just happen to be a finger that was in the hospital? I guess we'll never know. It could have been a finger because the cabin exploded somewhere or whatever, the fire. They just found somebody's finger, so that's hilarious. And of course he's like, did you even get the girl? And he's like, I'm going bowling with her.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, at first he pretended like he didn't.
He kind of makes it sound like he didn't. Yeah.
And then he was like, but I did hear she liked to bowl, so I did ask her to go bowling with me. And I was like, good for you, Dale.
I was so happy for him. I was like, good.
I was like, you get that country girl.
Right. And then so what was more like heartwarming for me though is when they were at the bowling alley and they were on their date. So Dale was shown in the beginning as this guy who just his best friend was Tucker, but he seemed very like he didn't have a whole lot of friends. He had a lot of confidence in himself. He couldn't talk to ladies. And at this point, he's sitting in this bowling alley on this date with this beautiful girl. He's actually out bowling, having fun. And then even these other kids come in, and there's no lanes available, and they're like, "Hey, that's our friend," and they join, you know. And it's just like he had like he had friends, like he was socializing, like he was having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I thinking of another movie?
I
Oh, I
think
think I might be right. No, oh, he had okay. So I'm thinking of another movie I watched right before that, but it had a bowling alley scene in it too, with a date with a girl that he was trying to get the entire movie. That was Lars and the Real Girl.
Oh, okay.
He was lonely just like Tucker and didn't have any friends, and finally got the girl in the end, was bowling with her, and all these guys came and like, "Hey, it's our buddy," and they were all friends, and it was just so sweet. Okay, but similar though, like he's there with the guy that owned the shop, or his hillbilly friend.
Yeah, it was the guy who owned the
Like,
shop,
you just gotta talk to these girls, man.
Yep,
And
and
he
I
did.
mean, yeah, he did. He was, and that's when I said I sent you a line from the movie. What was the exact line? That girl's got a great set of bowling
Bowling
fingers.
fingers.
And I was just like, that's just like
Oh
that was
boy.
perfect. That was the perfect
Yeah.
ending sort of thing. And so she talks to him, and he's like, I don't know if I'll ever see you again after this. And then she kisses him, and that's
Right.
it. Like, she's like,
He's like, "Don't
saying,
worry, I like you too."
yeah,
And then in the background, you see his friend knock out and carry out one of the girls.
oh, yeah, I didn't see that. I don't remember that, but that's
You
funny.
don't remember that? Oh no,
No,
no. After they kiss and they're like, "Oh, we're I like you too." Those girls in the background that were being very extra,
right.
it shows his friend who went to go talk to them. They they all start screaming, and he beats one of them over the head with something, and then starts dragging her out of the bowling alley.
Oh, I did not notice that. I gotta
Yeah,
look
so
back
it's
at
like
that. That's
some
funny.
hillbillies are a little,
A little
yeah,
bit, yeah, that's
kidnappy.
caveman like, you know.
So he's just like, uh,
Yeah,
we're
okay.
cool, right? Like we're cool. Right?
Yeah, look, he ain't gonna do that to her,
So
and
I was very happy though that he did have a happy ending, and he got to go on the date with the girl and got a kiss, and I hope they're very happy together.
I hope that, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's funny. I've always wanted. I even told Shalon, because that's the girl from this non-smoking smoking girl, whatever.
Mhm,
I told her when I met her, because I met her at Scares I Care,
mhm.
and I'm a huge fan of hers. Like, I love her to death, and I think she's the sweetest. And I told her, like, I wish that they make a sequel to Dale Tucker versus Evil, and she was like, I do too, And I was like,
Yeah, I think it'd be
but then
great.
I go, but but then you wouldn't be in the movie. Damn it. And then she goes,
True.
but she goes, but
Zombie.
wait, no, she said, but did you see me actually die? Being
True. We
hurt in the
never
thing.
actually saw her die,
So she said,
so
technically she could have survived and
right.
everything, and they could have worked that in
She
there.
could have woken up in the hospital with Tucker's finger.
That's true.
And then that's Tucker's girlfriend, and Dale and Allie are on their honeymoon in the vacation cabin.
Oh God, don't you'd go back to that place? I would never go back to
In
that.
order to make a sequel,
Yeah.
you would, because then that would give crazy guy who disappeared a chance to show up again and start causing all these accidents again. It would be
Oh Lord.
hilarious. But
Oh my God,
no,
that's
you pitch that idea to her. She could wake up in the hospital bed next to Tucker with his finger, and they fall in love.
I wish I could pitch that idea to anybody, but unfortunately, I have no.
Somebody in the universe, hear my idea and pay
Yeah,
me $1 million for it.
pay me $1 million for it. I love that. I don't even think this movie, the writers
No,
got $1 million
the budget.
for it.
Yeah,
Sadly, because the budget was really low. Because this movie was probably a few $1 million as
yeah.
itself,
But
But
it's a great movie though. I highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen it. If you like horror comedies as much as I obviously do, because that's what I pick besides
well,
Crazy Girl movies.
right, you like crazy girl movies, you like horror comedies. That's generally what you like.
Yeah.
So this really fits with your, subgenre of style of kind of things that you like. I mean, I like it too. I like horror comedies as long as they are funny. There are
Right,
some
right,
horror
of
comedies that
course.
are not funny.
No,
It's pretty
then
terrible.
it's just yeah.
But yeah, they're just bad.
But
But this one, I've always, and I think it took me a long time before I watched it. Not because it just took a while. Like, a
right,
lot of times I don't see something so quickly. But the funny thing is, I so this used to be on Prime, for free. And
right. I had to
this
do a free
time,
subscription to something else just to watch it.
so instead of doing that, I just rented it for like $4, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And when I did that, apparently it's the same one, or whatever, like from the Prime. So it ended. It was at the ending, it was at the credits, and I was like, wait
Oh
a minute,
wow.
what? So I had to like rewind it all the way to the beginning,
Rewind it. Oh
which I
wow.
thought
So
was
just
kind of
picked up where you
interesting.
left off. That is
I
weird.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I signed up to a 7-day free trial of their like monsters and something channel, which of course I'm going to cancel, but I was highly disappointed because I was looking in that channel just to be like, oh, what else do they have? And I was like, they literally have 20 movies on there, 20
Oh, that's
movies, and
it.
that's it. Like, how are you
Yeah,
going to
that's
charge
how
for
are
a
you gonna
subscription to a channel
how are you
and it
gonna
has
charge?
20
It was
horror
like
movies?
$3 a month. Like that's not even
Yeah, it's
worth
three
three
dollars a month.
bucks,
Even at $3 a month, then why would I pay $3 a month for 20 movies that I could probably find somewhere else? Except
especially
for
when
Dale
you
and
can.
Tucker.
Yeah, Dale and Tucker. Yeah, but there's other
Yeah,
ones
which
too. There's
I had to do a Prime subscription to a channel to get Cabin Fever too. I had to subscribe to Epics for a week, and they got me because I forgot to cancel and end up paying for another.
Oh, did you check out stuff on that though? Was there
Oh
better
yeah,
stuff
no,
on
I
Epic?
made sure I made it worth it, and I watched it for that whole week.
Nice. Well, there you go. Well, then you
Well,
should
do
have
we
watched it
have
for the whole
any?
month.
Well, I binge watched it for the whole week, thinking I only had the whole week, and then realized I got another month that I paid for, and then I continued.
Okay, good.
Yep, I got my money's out of it. That's for
Okay.
sure.
I
But
Yeah,
but
that was
yeah, but
sucked.
that channel always had a whole bunch more stuff on it than this one. But I definitely am gonna buy this movie. I was planning on buying it before the thing because I want to own it anyways. I just procrastinated. The next one we're doing is Your Next, isn't it?
Yep. Do you have that?
Not yet, but it is one of the movies that you picked that also was one of my favorites that I would have picked anyways. So I am going to
Mm-hmm.
try to get a copy of that one, like a physical copy to own before we do the review on that one.
So I'm supposed to do a remake for the 52-week movie challenge.
Mhm.
And it's funny because the guys who made Your Next also made the Blair Witch remake,
Okay.
and so I'm interested in seeing that because I own it. I've owned it for a long time, but I've never seen it. It's just one of those things where I buy a lot of movies, and so a lot of times I don't have time to watch everything.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll watch this and check this out. And so I will be checking that out this weekend. I'm kind of excited, actually. It
Your
looks.
Next is one of those movies, so that I another movie like this where I show it to people whenever I meet new people and they want to watch movies and they don't know what to pick. That's one of the movies that I introduce people to.
Yeah. Well, Your Next is, we'll get into it, but Your Next is, wow, it's next. So,
Yeah,
Your Next is
yeah,
next. I think if people, I don't know, if people like Tuck and Dare versus Evil, it's a very different, like, it's not very
yeah.
funny,
It's not a comedy or anything like that. I mean, like it
but
has its moments. It's a bit of a thriller,
got a
psychological
bar
thriller in some
dark
ways. But
dark
yeah,
comedy maybe
yeah,
vibe to it at times
right.
too. But
I agree.
it's mainly that eventually I also want to show you The Guest, but I don't know if that's horror or not.
Uh, I can't remember if I've seen it or not, but it is one I am gonna look up.
Yeah, it's by the same people, but I didn't want to do that this year. I want to do Your Next this year because that's
Mhm.
more of the more famous one that people
Yeah.
like. It was sort of the one that really put Adam and Simon. Adam's the director and Simon's the
Mhm.
writer on the map. I also got to buy and watch for the first time a movie that Adam had, his first movie they had done called Homesick, and it was really good. Like, it for low budget indie horror,
Mhm.
you know, I
Yeah.
was shocked at like how original and different, and like I didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen, kind of thing. And
Well,
you
that's
don't
good.
get that a lot. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
these horror films, especially in the indie world, are very formulaic because, but
Yeah.
if there's anything that the indie world can be, is it's completely original and different and like what the fucky, because you really don't, like there's nobody to tell you no, you know? Like,
Right.
there's no studio person saying, "Well, you can't do that." Because, the fuck, why not? And
Right.
so I like that. And Your Next is very much like that. It's very much like, no studio told these guys what to do. They just went out and they made their
Right.
movie the way they were going to make it. And it was a home invasion movie like you'd never seen it. And
Right.
so if you
Yeah. No,
haven't
it
seen
was
it,
great. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I can't
if you,
wait to do it next month.
yeah, I have it on Blu-ray though. So that I will not
I
have to
will.
be
I will
looking
make sure
for.
to have it on Blu-ray before then. Is
I
there
have
anything you wanna put in to tie up Tucker and Dale?
I would just say, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Like, seriously, if you haven't seen it, you just heard the whole fucking thing. Like, we just told you the
Right.
whole
If you haven't
story.
seen it,
So,
you should have watched it. But
yeah.
I think most people who have seen it will agree with us that it is a funny movie. It's a great movie, has a good cast. It probably is a parody movie. And if you have friends that haven't seen it, watch it with them. They'll love it.
Well, it's so funny. My last one was The Final Girls. Your last one here is Dale and Tucker versus Evil. Those two things sort of would be a good double feature, I think.
They would. And Final Girls was another movie you chose that I would have chose anyway. So
Yep. So
I
there
do
you
think
go.
that they do go good hand in hand together.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. So there you go. Yeah, I think that's about it. That about wraps it up. So everybody,
Yeah.
check it out. Check us out next month, when we do Your Next, and also check out the YouTube channel. Check out indiefilmcafe.podbean.com. Also check out indiefilmcafe.reviews, which is Paul's website that I help update and everything from time to time. So check those out, and keep letting us know like what you want to watch, and
Yeah.
everything.
What are some of your favorite horror movies? Just
Yeah,
let us know.
yeah. Maybe we'll include them in our,
Maybe
if
we'll
we
have some in common and then they'll be on our show and you get to listen to us tell you how much we love them as well.
exactly. Sarah usually picks things I've never even heard of, so you know.
Apparently nobody does because I have to show I've watched these movies a lot because I'm showing them to people constantly. Good thing they're my favorite.
Well, good thing too. All right, everybody, have a good one.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.